Hi, this is Dr. Cindy Woody, and I'm back with some support for those of you who are working on preparation for the TExES 268 Principal as Instructional Leader exam on the constructed response sections. And this video will focus on how to prepare to respond to question number 2 on the constructed response section of your exam. So let's put this question into context. So in question 2, the principal is going to be focused on planning. So you're going to actually be the principal as an instructional leader who is assisting teachers who are planning for instruction. The teachers in your scenario will use standards, they will select resources, and they will find state exam released items to create a unit. You can expect to see an exit ticket as part of the unit resources. I don't really think that you'll have any student data. They focus more on that on number 3, on constructed response 3. You may have some student data. Of course, we don't know what the actual questions will be on your test, but the focus will be more heavily on if you can find issues with alignment and rigor. So let's talk about that. So the domain that they're trying to assess on question 2 is this one. Domain 2, the entry-level principal facilitates the development of and implementation of rigorous curriculum that aligns with state standards and promotes college and career readiness. And typically what you'll see are issues with rigor and alignment. Remember, this is their test, so we go with their vocabulary terms. So we have the exemplar, which we'll talk about in a moment. The exit ticket is a given. That's a short assessment that's formative. It's used by the teacher at a certain points in the lesson. They are used by the teacher at certain points in the lesson to complete their process of checking for understanding to see if students are able to demonstrate what they're supposed to know. And then, high leverage just means that you're picking efficient and effective practices that will help a teacher quickly get to the point of improvement needed. And then not so much item analysis on this one, but you are welcome to always mention that the teachers could do item analysis along the way, because this lesson plan should lead to some data eventually. Instructional coaching is the fact that you're focusing on growing the teacher, and the teacher is going to lead a lot of the conversations in meetings based on the questions and the examples you give them, the food for thought that you've provided. And then, of course, probing questions. When you do ask questions or provide examples for teachers, make sure that you're encouraging them to really think about their issues without really pointing out what you see as the problems so directly. You want the teacher to arrive at that thinking on their own. So let's look at the parts of question number 2. So you're going to be asked to identify the 2 areas that are most in need of improvement on the lesson plan. You're going to have to justify why you select each area. You're going to create an exemplar. So for some people that really creates some anxiety to think about creating an exemplar. I think we can ease some of that anxiety. And then you're going to tell how to use the exemplar to coach the teachers in the area needing improvement. So let's focus on part 1, 2 areas in need of improvement. So when you go into the resources they provide you, you may be overwhelmed at first by the number of items that they provide for you to look at, and just the sheer amount of volume that it takes up on the computer screen, the space, and how many things you have to look at and read in such a short time. But what I want you to focus on is the fact that you're going to lead with the TExES. So the TExES have set the rigor expectations for you. So really focus on the words of the TExES. Do they say something low level like explain or identify? Or do they say something more challenging like the student will create a model, the student will write their own equation, the student will create an example of a persuasive letter, or whatever. If the student's doing some creation or they're going to create a chart to organize their data, then you'll have to watch, because in the example they provide, many times the teacher will provide the thing the student was supposed to do. So where the student was supposed to write the equation, you'll see a teacher who doesn't understand the rigor level writing the equation and asking the student to solve it, where the student was the one who was supposed to write the equation. Or it will say the student is supposed to create an organizer to collect data from an experiment, and you'll see that the teacher has given them a chart and tell them to record the data in the chart. So that doesn't match the rigor level. So watch those action words. Pacing. In the action words of the TExES, you'll notice that there will be a more difficult TEK and a simpler concept. So make sure that the concepts that seem to you to be more challenging are allotted more time in the lesson plan. So you'll typically see day 1, day 2, day 3, or something similar to help you see in the unit plan or the lesson plan how the teacher has anticipated spending time to teach the concepts. And then instructional strategies, make sure that the identified instructional strategies allow for any kind of modeling, practice, formative assessment, or reteaching, if that's included in the example they give you. So you know the one that's provided in the 268 manual on the Pearson website doesn't really have a lesson plan, it has a unit plan. And so really the issues there are more about pacing and alignment and rigor than they are about instructional strategies. So one thing I don't think that the exam directions do a good job of is helping you understand that you have to have evidence when you go to the part of justifying part 1. So let's say that you chose alignment and rigor for your area for part 1, the area in need of improvement. So you may state the area most in need of improvement, or area 1 most in need of improvement, is alignment and rigor, or alignment with the standards and rigorous expectations on assessment, or something like that. And then you need to justify it. So you're basically saying how you know that. And you justify it through evidence. And we'll see an example of a level 3 response in a second. But they want you to put 2 pieces of evidence. It doesn't say that you need any evidence. It just says justify it. But they want you to do area 1, justify, evidence, evidence. Area 2, justify, evidence, evidence. And the evidence needs to be specific. So let's say that you're trying to say that the rigor level that the teacher has provided for students isn't going to get them to the rigor level provided by the released items on the state exam. Maybe that's one of your pieces of evidence. Go ahead and name which one that is that's off. So if it's item number 4, isn't going to get you to the rigor level of a released item number 32. Item number 4 on the exit ticket isn't going to get you to the release level on item number whatever on the release test. Then say that in your written commentary. Or if you're saying TExES 8.3c is more rigorous than the expectation of the way it's measured on the assessment on the exit ticket on number 3, then say that. That lets the reader know, the grader know, that you have actually looked at the documents provided and you have a solid reason for providing this advice to the teacher. And then you'll do that again for your selected area 2. Be extremely clear with your justification. The difference between a 3 and a 4 is that a 3 person mentions things they noticed in the documents, and a person who scores a 4 tells you exactly the item number, the line number, or whatever, the exact item that justifies what they were thinking. So identify the specific exit ticket number, the TExES, the number of days of instruction, or whatever it is that you're trying to point out in your answer. Okay, and then they're going to ask you to create an exemplar, and that might give you shivers in the dark thinking about this. So if you are a content or curriculum expert and you are very comfortable and familiar with this content and with creating excellent exemplars for exit tickets, then go for it. You go to the exit ticket and you write a better exit ticket item for the exemplar. And that's what the person did who scored a 4 in the example in the Pearson prep guide for this exam, the 268 prep manual. Everybody else, anyone who's nervous about writing an actual exit ticket item that demonstrates that you have profound understanding of the content and the way the exit ticket should be, head to the other side of the scale and use your other area of improvement and write an exemplar for the teacher to follow. Because this is about what the teacher's going to do. So when you write a better exit ticket item, that's not the item that's going to replace an item on their exit exam, on their exit ticket. It's an item that's going to demonstrate for the teacher how to write a better exit ticket item. Does that make sense? You're creating an exemplar for the teacher to follow. So when I say everyone else, use your other area of improvement, I love the example they provided using the pacing guide. So here's what I'm talking about. So on the sample problem from the 268 manual, and I've linked below where this came from, Exit ticket items, it says the exit ticket items and the TExES are not well aligned and they don't match up in rigor. So she didn't, he or she, the test taker, did not explain to us an exemplar that would address that. Instead, they gave an exemplar to address number 2. Pacing of the objectives of the teacher-created unit does not reflect rigor of the skills presented. Excuse me. So let's look at B. High-quality exemplar to address pacing. Day 1, solve this. Day 2, solve this. Day 3, solve this. Day 4, do this. Day 4 and 5, do this. Day 6 and 7, do this. So basically, the principal taking the exam has taken the teacher's pacing out of the lesson plan and has provided an example of what better pacing might look like. So it's still up for discussion in the conversation with the teachers who created this unit plan, but it helps the teacher understand what a better pacing might look like if you're saying that we're not spending enough time on the challenging concepts, or we're spending too much time on the lower level concepts. So to me, that's not a hard thing for you to do in just a few minutes on this exam. Just correct that. And then C, plan to coach the teacher before using the exemplar. One thing I wanted to also point out about this particular response example is that this one doesn't go quite deep enough with justifications. There's no page numbers. There's no, there's one mention here of the first 3 days. There's no, not page numbers, there's no exit ticket numbers. All this one really needed to do to get to a level 4 was to really up the way that they discussed their justification, their evidence from the documents provided. So it says, in 2 of the exit ticket samples provided. Well, which 2? Students are only asked to solve the equation. Okay, and then the directions say, tell how to use the exemplar. This is the final part of this question. So state the obvious. You know, doing this step, using this exemplar will help the teacher now. Okay, so how will you help the teacher now? Using this exemplar will help the teacher improve this lesson and avoid misconceptions, introducing misconceptions to students. Or using this exemplar will help the teachers ensure the explicit instruction has time to take place before the students are assessed on these more rigorous concepts. And you can also mention how it will help the teacher later. So because of this type of coaching and practice using this exemplar, in the future I anticipate the teachers should be able to create units that demonstrate a stronger grasp of connecting alignment and rigor with the standards or whatever. Okay, and then also it's helpful to mention the impact on student learning and tie it to your area of focus. So just keep repeating the words alignment and rigor and keep it real. I mean, that's sort of my advice there. So if you're going to say using the exemplar will also ensure that the students on our campus have appropriate alignment and rigor when they go through this unit, which will help them in future units on similar concepts or related concepts or spiraling concepts. Okay, and last of all, be the exemplar. Remember, yes, in this exam, you are the ideal principal and your teachers are eager to work with you. They trust and respect you and they love meetings. You're a genius at helping teachers improve their plans. But we also do want that in real life. Like if you really prepare for this and you take this exam seriously, you can be the ideal principal that teachers are eager to work with, that teachers trust and respect, and that they enjoy coming to their meetings because they know that you're going to help them and you're really good at making them think hard enough to get to better plans. So you go out there and you crush this exam.